Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in celebration of this alcohol bender that I'm coming down from, I thought it would be a fun time to kind of pick apart my SAMM program homework. I have a binder. I'm so glad I got this. People made fun of me for getting a Trapper Keeper to keep the stuff in there. I mean, to me, it was like going to school. I had to go there 3 days a week and take a class and go to counseling, and I do like a whole bunch of videos on the psych trauma I experienced at that place. But when it came to the SAMM program, that was sort of its saving grace. And they do throw like a lot of the stupid DBT crap into this, which I didn't remember in full. I stayed sober for 7 years after doing the SAMM program. I think that it worked. I picked up alcohol because I wanted to. I want to be able to party and have fun. And, I'm gonna be going through a period of sobriety coming up here. I think that I would rather do edibles, okay? Because I don't have any psychosis. They say you do, but I don't, in my opinion. So when I went to rehab back in 2010, my drug of choice was alcohol. My second drug of choice was opioids, painkillers. I got outpatient treatment for the opioids, in a previous year. And then I got treated for alcohol addiction because what happened was, I think at the time I was coping with a lot of bipolar symptoms I didn't realize I was having. When I'm manic, I drink a lot. It kind of it suppresses the mania a little bit. But when I went to rehab, I was drinking at least a fifth a day. Which is really a lot if you think about it. And then if you think like beer and stuff on top of all of that, and I was spending my rent money on alcohol. I mean, I was spending like a lot of money on it, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And my mental health was really bad. I had untreated bipolar disorder at the time. So, which went untreated for years and years, but, yesterday I was hallucinating so bad. I just told my husband, I was like, man, I've had a lot of fun. He doesn't drink. It's just me. I was like, I've been having a lot of fun and stuff doing all this drinking, but I'm freaking seeing blue and yellow ribbons floating all over the room, you know? So at this point, I had hit what is known as rock bottom. I wasn't paying my rent. Historically speaking, I've always been a very responsible renter. My credit has always been very poor, but my renting and payment histories have always been very good, and that's how I got into places. And I just quit paying it because I was buying alcohol, which was readily available, and it is to me now. That's part of the problem, I think, is that I'm less than a 3-minute walk to the frickin' party store. So, if I feel like having a beer, it's nothing to walk up there and grab a tall boy. So my lifestyle, which I don't really talk about on here, I've put it all past me. My lifestyle is what you might consider to be a bit risky. I was having trouble with mothering my son, and it was just a really rough time, and I feel like I did try to reach out to friends and family at the time, but people back then, it's gotten better over the years, but people weren't as educated about mental health back in 2010 as they are now. Now there's a lot of awareness, and like my Facebook and stuff like that is mostly just mental health related. So I got a psych evaluation at the old KCMH because I had been in there before for services. And the case manager lady there, the intake lady, was just like, oh my goodness. And she was like, this is one of the worst cases I've ever seen. This is terrible. And I was just like, oh my God, okay. And they got me in touch. They got me signed up for rehab right there at the office. So what they do is they do a psych evaluation, and then they can apply you for funding right there at the office. So got me in there, and then got me into the SAMM program, and this is where all of my psych trauma is from this facility. But there are some positive things too, and I feel like I focus a lot on the negative and not enough on the positive. For example, my first case manager at SAMM, his name was Patrick, and in my psychosis mind at the time, Patrick reminded me a lot of Matt from Melrose Place. Matt from Melrose Place was a social worker, and I was just kind of like, I felt like I was talking to Matt. And he was like a former addict himself, and he was sober and stuff like that, and he's one of the good people in sobriety culture. Like, when I graduated from this program, he'd been promoted and put in a fancy position, and he came to my graduation because he was just so nice. So I was really excited to be there because he made me feel so much better about my situation. He was just like, this is rock bottom, and, you can either die or you can just go up. So I chose to go up. The problem lies with the case manager that I was assigned with, because she was very heavily influenced by Marshall Linehan. I've done a million videos about that, so I won't get into it here. But I just found this in my Trapper Keeper. I didn't know this was in here. It's a list of all of the AA meetings I attended. And it looks like as long as the SAMM program was... It was funny, when I was, I've done videos on AA. I have a big problem with Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a misogyny problem. Fucking serial killer suspect problem in Alcoholics Anonymous. But they kind of criticized the fact that I had a licensed drug counselor, because my case manager was a licensed drug counselor. And I do think if she helped me with anything, it would be the substance abuse. Not so much the mental health. She kind of damaged that. But they do go hand in hand. But it looks like this was called Substance Abuse Management Module. And the first module is distress tolerance. So it says you learn how behavior is developed and how you can change it, how you can identify danger, all useful information, okay? It looks like I did some homework here. Reasons to stay clean and sober. More money. I'm more likely to deal with immediate problem, because I think sometimes, like with alcohol, I would use it to not have to deal with problems I was having. And I had a lot of problems. Like, I was a single mom, really working, not necessarily in the most positive work environment at Applebee's. Just not a lot of friends at the time, not a lot of support, it wasn't a good time. So I think staying clean and sober for me was a matter of getting my bills paid and being able to parent a child properly. 'Cause that was a big scandal. He never got taken away from me or anything. Because I had been told, this was really good advice. I had been told by a friend that her mom was struggling with substance abuse, and she went to the system, and they helped her instead of, like, taking her kids away. It's like, if you go to the system and say, hey, I have this problem, I really want some help, like, they are more likely to help you as opposed to punish you. So that was really good advice for me. And it's, like, totally crazy looking back on it, because my two younger kids that I have now, they know nothing of any of this. They've only known the responsible supermom, Okay, and then it looks like I talk about triggers. Things that reminded me of negative past experiences. Another big trigger is the feeling of being controlled, which was really interesting because I was in a very controlling relationship while I was in this program. I felt like at the time people had always kind of told me I was bad, even though I wasn't, but I always kind of believed I was because that was the message I was getting all the time. And then I felt like when I was going through all this, they kind of had a reason to believe I was bad. I think it's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so distress tolerance. Okay, now this is some DBT crap here. Distress tolerance. To develop skills to cope with painful emotions by not making things worse. Okay, well, like, how do you do this? Okay, here's some things I put. You can volunteer. Like, I volunteered at the homeless shelter. When I was going through all this, some people in my group were at the homeless shelter living there, and volunteering gave me a little bit of something to look forward to. It was a positive environment, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, then here's some, like, DBT crap. They tell you to take a hot shower or hold on to a piece of ice. They think we're living in a mentally ill simulation all the time, when the fact is, like, most of the time we're just normal. I don't know. Self-soothing. Oh, I'd stare into my hermit crab tank. I gave those away recently. I've had those hermit crabs for 20 years. I gave them to a vet tech who had a way nicer setup than me. My setup was poor. Okay, so let's see. I listen to oldies, burn essential oils. So this is just kind of some of the stuff I would do to stay sober. Oh, God, radical acceptance. I've done videos on this one. You know, are we to radically accept our abusive boyfriends? And if we dump them, we're accused of abandonment issues. Okay, so, radical acceptance, I said, oh, no, I'm not reading that. I radically accepted something I did. Yeah, then I quote Jesus from Jesus Christ Superstar. But if I was to tell you the quote, that would give away the thing I don't want to talk about. So we need to talk about emotional regulation skills. This is one of my biggest pet peeves of mental health, is when they talk about emotional dysregulation. Now, there might be something to it, because I worked with a lady who was emotionally dysregulated. Like, you never knew if she was going to be really, really up one day to the point where she couldn't do her job because she was freaking flying through the air. Or if she was going to be so low that she was going to break down in tears and hold the freaking department hostage with her antics, okay? But I also think in that case, there was other things going on that could have attributed to her emotions being dysregulated. And if she had fixed that stuff, then maybe she would act normal. So I think they were kind of taking me. I was psychotic at the time. And I wasn't diagnosed as psychotic, even though with the BPD diagnosis, they do recognize that they have psychotic-like symptoms. You're not entitled to psychosis when you have BPD. It's only psychotic-like. So my emotions, like right now, even with this like little drinking spell I just went through, my emotions have been fine. I didn't have any depression or anything as a result of this. And now that I'm stopping, you know, things are only going to get better. I'm still kind of in recovery mode. I woke up feeling really good. I was like, I'm going to put on makeup and do my hair, take a shower, you know, stuff like that. But then Oh, here they talk about good emotions. Oh, now they're going to tell you which ones are good and which ones are bad. I want to know which ones are bad. Anger, probably. They hate that we feel anger. How dare we feel anger towards the traumatic things that have happened to us? How dare we express that? No, it doesn't say anything about bad emotions. So I think here, though, they just kind of want you to be in tune with your emotions and recognize what's triggering the emotion and how your body feels, because that can kind of help you deal with it. Like, say you are angry and you start recognizing the physical symptoms of your anger, there's things you can do to make your physical symptoms better, and it just kind of goes from there. So I understand that. I see where they're coming from. The next one is stress management. Oh, puppy. She keeps stepping on the cord. Okay, so, like, the biggest things about stress management would just be some basic things. If you're sick, take care of yourself. Go to the doctor. Balance your eating. Avoid mood-altering drugs. Like pot? No. No. I will not. It's not that mind-altering. I think when I do edibles and stuff, it just puts me in a really good mood. It makes me giggly, you know? But, like, when I just smoke reefer, it doesn't alter me. I feel like it makes me feel better. I don't know. But yeah, avoid alcohol, to reduce stress. Don't drink alcohol under stress. I don't even really do that now, even with some of the alcohol issues I have been struggling with lately. I definitely wasn't drinking out of stress. I was literally just having fun. They say, like, get sleep. I don't sleep when I drink a lot of alcohol. It keeps me up. Get exercise, which I have not been doing, and I really need to get out and walk. Even with the snow and the ice, everybody else is doing it. I see people jogging down the road. Build mastery. Try to do one thing a day to make yourself feel effective and in control. I don't really need to do that. I think maybe to make myself feel effective, I keep the house clean and I make dinner. I feel like I can get away with a lot of self-pampering and smoking sessions. Okay, here's some, like, I don't know if this is toxic positivity, but it says, be mindful of positive experiences. It's like, yeah, of course you should focus on the positive as opposed to the negative. But sometimes you do need to focus on negative experiences in order to work through them. And through at least DBT, which they throw into the SAMM program a lot, they don't necessarily want you working on trauma. They want you to focus in the now all the time. So, and a lot of that was like, think positive, you know, which isn't, it doesn't work. Okay, it talks about fear, anger. Let's see. Changing emotions by acting opposite to the current emotion. Anger. Gently avoid the person you are angry with rather than attacking. I do that. Like, I have distressing relationships with people in the family and people in my husband's family and things like that. So I avoid those situations. I'd rather keep my peace. I don't think I'm gonna attack them, but I am very opinionated, and I do feel like I will speak up and state my mind, and that just kind of clashes with people who think I shouldn't do that. But that's not who I am. That's not me, and I'm not gonna change who I am. Do something nice rather than mean or attacking. Well, yeah, of course. Okay. Okay, it talks about regulating emotions at home. Those kind of stuff like that. I have some things I wrote down. Now I start bringing up the 12th step. I don't remember what that step is. and I didn't write it down here, but I write down a quote from the AA book. It's a cult. Alcoholics Anonymous is a cult. Yeah, I talk about this AA meeting that I would go to. I'm still friends with the guy I met at that place. He's really nice. He had a dog named Buddy. And he would bring him down to the clubhouse all the time and let me take him for walks and things like that. And it looks like I was writing about Buddy. He was a black-mouthed cur found wandering alone in the woods, and then my friend took him in, and he was such a nice dog. Interpersonal effectiveness. Now, this I found very helpful, because what I used to do was, if I was confronted with something in a relationship that hurt me, I would bite my tongue and sort of like ruminate in it and get really, really angry about it. And it sort of taught me to face the issue at hand and be a little bit more blunt immediately instead of sitting on it and letting it fester. Now, people don't like this. This doesn't go over well, by any means. People aren't used to being called out. You call people out and they're like, yeah, it's never a comfortable situation. Okay, and it starts to talk about like the worries you might have. Like you worry about people not liking you, and you're unable to say what you want. Okay. Other people won't give you what you need unless you sacrifice your self-respect. That, I feel like that's kind of common with younger people. If you have people like that in your life, they're not your friends. You know, so it just kind of like teaches you about stuff like that. And I found that particular module to be very helpful to me. This one is managing high-risk situations. Addictive thinking. Okay, so it warns you about instant gratification, effective versus ineffective. So, effective, okay, an ineffective way of thinking would be like using drugs and alcohol to manage your problems. That's ineffective. Very ineffective. Then it's got like some homework here, and it looks like I did some writing. I talked about the knots in my muscles. You guys, I used to have so many knots in my back. It's crazy. Now, a couple times a year, I might get one in my back. Like, I mopped at work. Did a good deed. You know, did a thorough mopping job at my work, and I ended up with this frickin' knot in my back. It was so dumb. I'm like, God, is it? And then I used to, back in this time period when I was getting sober and starting to take better care of myself, I went to the gym, and I always got knots from going to the gym. It looks like they talk about stress management again. Not sure why I have two of those. Relapse prevention planning. What can I do to prevent a relapse? Well, I think with my education in substance abuse management, like as a patient, you know, not as a professional, as a patient, since I've been through this program and I have things to go back and look at like I am now, I think I am like able to identify things better, and I do have like healthy activities and things like that. But, you know, that's all better in my life. The next one is, the role playing, where you learn to say no. Because did you know that when you get clean and sober, all of a sudden all the drug dealers come out and want to sell you things? They don't want you getting clean. People aren't too cool with you getting clean all the time. Okay, so them. You want to go out when we can stay here and have a great time? Come on, let's get high. And then you say, that's right. Please stop pressuring me. I'm starting to get ticked off. I told you I don't want to use, and I don't appreciate you bugging me. them. Hey, don't sweat it. If you don't want any, that just means more for me. We can play pool after I've smoked some. Then you say, no thanks. Like I said, I don't use anymore and have other things to do. I have no intention of using again, so I'm leaving now. So they give you a little scenario. I mean, all you gotta really say is, hey, no, I'm clean now, and I'm getting sober, and I'm not interested. It talks about recovery, and I took a recovery class after this. It was called Recovery for Life. And I found that one to be really helpful too. We didn't have like a program like this that I kept, unfortunately. It would have been helpful. Psychoactive chemicals, I want to know what they say about this, because I smoke weed, and I'm not planning to stop. Okay, here's something, guys. So, it kind of talks about the DSM criteria for substance use disorders, which I'm not going to get into because I think it's pretty obvious. It's like when it starts to interfere with your life. But this is really interesting. For people with co-occurring mental illness and substance use disorders, the use of substances may make psychiatric symptoms worse, create new psychiatric symptoms, lead you to stop taking prescribed meds, lead you to overdose. I noticed that some of the days that I started drinking a little early, I didn't take my psych meds because you really can't mix them. So I chose alcohol over psych meds. And I ended up with freaking psychosis, like very temporary. I have a prescription for Zyprexa. Zyprexa is an antipsychotic. It's a really strong one that they give you when you're crazy. I take it for bipolar agitation. I took it for freaking alcohol psychosis, and it made it go away like within about a half hour or so. Okay, and then it gets into mindfulness, and this is something I don't agree with at all. As a Christian, as a patient, and you know what? This is the least of all of the handouts that I have. All of the other ones I have like stacks of papers. I just hate this. It talks about reasonable mind, wise mind, and emotional mind. It's so stupid. They just talk about you, like, about thinking of things with non-judgments. That's impossible. Talks about the benefits of quitting and also neurobiological disorders. What do they say about that? Finally, it just talks about some problem-solving skills, like how to solve problems without using drugs or alcohol, which I think I can do. I'm very good at problem solving. Yeah, and SAMM was kind of interesting too, because first you did your introduction with the case manager. And then they invited you, until phase 2 started, you'd go to like phase 1, which was full of active drug users and people just starting to get clean. People that are like decided that morning, hey, I'm going to go get sober. People were always trying to sell me pills in there and stuff. Place was full of hookers. That's where they teach you about like not sharing needles, safe sex practices, things like that. And then when you go into the SAMM phase 2 program, none of those people were really in this part. Some people stay in that phase 1 for a really long time before they decide to get officially clean. And I remember being in phase 2, and there was this girl in my class who had been clean and sober for 10 days, and I just, like, couldn't believe it. It seemed so far away for me. And then I did it. I stayed sober for 7 years. And then phase 3 was more like we'd go for trips to take ice cream. I know we went on a field trip one day, and now I can't remember where we went. So, yeah, all in good fun. Crazy times. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.